Hello and welcome to B&D. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the little bell for your notifications. Okay, hello. I'm going to talk about this caravan. This caravan was specially designed by Haven to fit the needs of the clientele who come to a Haven site. Now, this of course is a fairly small caravan with 2 bedrooms, which that's why it's small. If it's 3 bedrooms, it will be the proper 36 feet. But this one is fairly small. Let's start in the bedroom. Now, things we have noticed and things that we do find a problem with. Yeah, this is designed by a company that is meant to understand their customer. I think that there's some design errors and mistakes made for making this caravan. There's some controversy. Right, let's start with the first one. Now, I'm going to get on the bed. That's not the problem. Well, the problem might be the pillars because they're pretty hard. So I'm on the bed and the light's on. To turn the light off, it's up there above my plug. You see my black plug? The white box above there, that's the light switch. When you are in bed and you try to reach it, it's one hell of a reach. Ow. It is. It's really high up on the wall. It is a long way away from the bed for reaching. Really, even this plug is quite high up. It would be much better for the light switch to be down here or even down here, so you can just reach over and switch all the way up there. If you're a gorilla, you can turn the lights on and off, but no. The other thing came with the bedroom is that we have cupboards with no doors on, and that follows through into the kitchen, which means that you have to be immensely tidy all the time. But I have one big problem with doing makeup. I'll turn you around because I'm hoping that you will see how much darker it is. Now, even if you sit on the bed, which is not perfectly because it's that much distance, then look how dark it is. How clear can you see my face? Why is there no light above here, or a light to light the mirror so you can see and clearly see when you put your makeup on? I do think that these units are round the wrong way, which would then means you would move the electric box. If the wardrobe was at this side, because it comes out further, it actually comes out about another 3 inches here and then goes in for there. If this was along there, then you wouldn't need the sides on here to have this here, and then it would be more open and it would have more light, but it would still be better to have a light above it. Then the whole mirror could just go on the whole blue side of the wall, because this tiny little mirror is just really, really thin, that it is very hard to fit your whole self in the mirror because you can't go far enough back. We are only like maybe about 15 inches away from the mirror to the bed. So this unit really would be better there, and then that over here, then you wouldn't need the side. It could be open a bit more. If you remember last year's video of the caravan I was in, mirror for makeup and that lot had a little shelf, could have been bigger, but it was open, and therefore there was a lot more light that came in and helped when you put your makeup on and do your hair and things like that. But no, that's not what we have here. And as we say, this caravan, and it's the light off, and this caravan is built by people who understand their customers. This is my other one. Well, if we move the radiator from this side and put it on that side of the wall, this door could move this way to this bit of the wall. By how much? About as much as what the bed has. So this is how much bed. So if the door moved that way and was here to there, then instead of having these beds, you had bunk beds here. Then you could have the distance between here and the wall. You could have a cupboard to put clothes and shelves and stuff, and then still go up this bit of the wall. Or you could just put a whole pile of hooks on that bit. That would mean you move the fire, but that could move over to this wall as well. And you would come in, let's see, to that much of wall, which is still over a foot of wall, and have the door there. So when you come in, you have all of this free space, free floor when you walk in, and then have bunk beds. Especially if you put the head of the bunk on the upper height on this wall. So we do away with this because I still think this is a bit of a joke, because you're just going to knock it when you're getting into bed. And that is the funniest place for a plug socket, because there's nothing to rest anything on. See, we're not so bothered about them ones. And the light switch is right beside the bed, not like in the other one. But if this is supposed to be a kid's room, kids would love a bunk bed. It doesn't have to be this far off the floor for the bottom one. It could be a little lower, and then you could come in at about this height with the headroom because of the slope and ceiling. So you could sit up and have your feet in that corner of the thing. I think that would be a much bigger feeling room, you know. I'm physically, with my legs together, I touch both beds. You know, there's probably about 10 inches between, or even less, because I'm pushing against both beds to get out. So yeah, now we're going to do the bathroom. And my first issue with the bathroom is you're about to go in there, put the light on. Where would you expect the light switch to be? There's the bathroom door. Where would you expect the light switch to be? Would you expect it to be here? So you turn the light on and then you can go in. Is the light switch there? Is it hell? The light switch is behind the door on the wall. So you've got to close the door to turn the light switch on to open the door to go in. And with the narrowness, this bathroom is a lot smaller than my bathroom in the caravan I'm normally in. The gap between here and here is much smaller. I would just think, why have the sink here? There's nothing to justify that. Take all of this bit of the sink and move it to where beside the toilet. You could move the heater onto that, or you can just have a smaller heater up on the wall up above the door. So you could put a heater up there. And as you see, the edges, things coming out. So then you would move all of the hooks on this bit of wood onto this side. But then with the sink on this side, it would come out to about here and curve round. And then you would have a full, much bigger gap to go between the bathroom and out than have to go all the way around the sink. That sort of says, when you look the thing, move the sink to beside there, and it would come out to probably here, and that would give a free path in without having to go around anything. So yeah, there's just bits here that puzzle me on stuff. Like we have shelves, but they're not designed for what's on them. We have a shelf here. Look how much gap there is from the floor, from the shelf up, just to put an egg cup on. Or how high you have to reach to get a cup. This one shelf is technically more than enough to put all of that stuff on. But then you've got to have really neat kitchen and really neat stacking of your dishes all the time, because there's no doors. You can't just throw something in. And I always wondered why this isn't a drawer, because it's under the sink. We have only one drawer, and it's all the way over here. Why? Where I stay, there's a whole bag, 6 drawers to put stuff in. Yeah, we couldn't have a big drawer here. Then we wouldn't be wasting the space in this cupboard, because this cupboard is the only place you can put that type of stuff. But yeah, we're losing all of this space here to nothing. Yeah, it's just weird. Like this door over here goes into a slanted cupboard that gets thinner and thinner, and not much gap to get stuff in. You might as well have just left it as a shelf like we have up a height, because that's as much as what that cupboard is. Our cooker back gives up not even halfway over the cooker. So if you're cooking on the front one, it can splatter this bit, no problem whatsoever. Yeah, really. It's just, yeah. So I already mentioned the one thing in the living room that gets me. And by the way, very few of the USB sockets in here work. One works down there and one works in the bedroom. None of the others work. So in here, I said on virtually the first day I came in here, if I'm sitting at the table with my laptop, I have to run the cable all the way across to the plug, which is down. So there's my plug. I have to take it via the shelf. It's behind the drink. There's the cable coming out across so it can go into the laptop. This is the only place I can put the laptop and sit and use it. So why is there no plug on this side, even down where the seat is? I also think that is a bit off. Why not metal, put the reflective and then bring it out, and then you could have this come over, because anything on here can fall onto or go into the radiator if it spills. So yeah, designed by people who understand a caravan and what people want. Yet, I don't think it was thought out properly. A lack of a socket on one wall in a living room. You need a socket for the telly dedicated, then you need one to anything else. but there's no little table, so you can't put your laptop on that. So you've got the big table, yet there is no socket near without having the wire go across where people walk. No doors, yep, that saves money, but means you have to pay immensely tidy. Light switches behind doors, so late at night you're going to have to open it, turn the light on, open the door. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Just thinking about where you're putting the switches and how it is. The bathroom is very tight. The bedroom, the second bedroom, is very tight. I don't think I have seen a bedroom so tight that when you open the door, both beds are physically coming out. You know, if you're physically half the width of the door, that's how much room you've got in it. So, the light outside, there's supposed to be a light outside. It's terrible. It doesn't light any of the path. And when it gets dark, there is no other light outside here. So I went out to throw the rubbish out last night, and I couldn't see any of the path because it was so dark. And by the way, that blind doesn't work. And it's a funny little window. Which, did we really need to have a funny little window? I don't know. Are we trying to say there's not enough cupboard space? Think something didn't go quite right when they designed this. I think they rushed it and chucked stuff in. So that is my overall. Why did they make this? Because it doesn't simply match up to having enough space or having things where you would want them. So with that, thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.
Meow. Next time.